Hello and welcome to the first half of this talk on disability and chronic illness in practice. My name is Claire Hodgson. I'm the co-founder of Veterinary Spoonholders UK and the chair of BVCIS, British Veterinary Chronic Illness Support. So who are we? We are a charity that is centred on individuals within the veterinary profession living and working with chronic illness and disability. And we have three core goals. The first being support. Life is challenging with health issues. The second, education, providing resources and signposting education and training. And the third being advocacy, to give voice to the community, raise awareness and ensure that no decisions about us are made without us. How did we start? In 2018, we formed a Facebook community, Veterinary Spoonholders UK, designed to provide peer-to-peer support so people could realise they're not alone and give a safe space where people can ask for advice, share stories, hints and tips. We now have a community of over 1,600 members. We're open to all within the veterinary world, and we support each other to navigate the world of work and the rest of life. Let's start this talk with some simple definitions. What is disabled? The Equality Act defines it as a physical or mental condition which has a substantial and long-term adverse impact on your ability to do normal day-to-day activities compared to your unmedicated self. And for this purposes, long-term is anything greater than 12 months, and substantial is, while it is a subjective term, in this case, the statutory definition of substantial is more than minor or trivial. And it looks at what a person can't do or can do, but only with difficulty, rather than what they can do. So something like trying to get dressed in the morning, if that's significantly impaired, that would be a sort of substantial impact. But for many, they avoid using the terms that define themselves as disabled, but that doesn't mean that they're not still protected. What is chronic illness? It lasts for more than a year. It requires ongoing medical attention, may not have a cure, is managed with drugs and other treatments, and limits activities of daily living. Many people will say, this isn't me. And yet 15 million people, over 30% of the UK population, live with one or more chronic illness. Many who qualify do not recognise themselves in these definitions. They don't like to see themselves as being disabled because there are too many negative stereotypes. There's a lack of positive role models, and poor visibility of people with disability thriving and succeeding means that many people resist the definition for a long time, meaning that they limit their access to the support and often the aids they need to thrive. What does the chronic illness diagnosis mean? For many, there is a common understanding that illness is for a finite period and it'll end and you'll be normal again. This isn't the case with chronic illness. Getting a diagnosis on its own can be hard. Being heard and taken seriously by the medical profession shouldn't be as hard as it is. It's time consuming and feels like a battle when you least have the energy to do so. Even a diagnosis doesn't mean the medics have a solution on how to help you or how to treat you. Challenges faced by those with chronic illness fall into two main categories: the personal, subdivided into physical and mental. For physical sides, we're talking about fatigue, pain, insomnia, brain fog and memory. These will be common themes for many living with chronic illnesses. More specifically, you have mobility, sensory processing problems, nausea, bladder, bowel and menstrual issues, and the menopause, which is something that many of us will eventually get to. From the mental health perspective, emotional dysregulation is often key because, funnily enough, living with a whole bunch of sort of physical problems makes it really hard to keep your emotions on an even keel. Many of us mask on a day-to-day basis just to sort of pretend to fit in and act like we're normal, and that in its own right is exhausting and takes its toll. Along with that comes the guilt that we can't do the things we want to do, the guilt that we're disappointing or letting people down, that we're a burden on those that we love or those that we work alongside. And funnily enough, there is not unsurprisingly, there's a well-recognised link between physical and mental health. Any chronic illness is recognised to be a significant risk factor for depression, anxiety, and people living with chronic pain, say, are recognised to be 4 times greater risk than the rest of the general population. When it comes to external factors, we have the simple facts that we're a physically demanding profession. Workplaces are poorly designed. There's often a lack of seats, building layout, workstation design are pretty lousy, and there's barely adequate support for healthy staff. Understaffing and a superhero complex normalizes long hours with no breaks. And after all, everyone is tired. When it comes to people, we see prejudice and negative stereotypes being commonplace. Microaggressions and ignorance are something we often live with on a day-to-day basis. And for those with invisible illness, the signs are often, and key indicators are often missed for those that don't know what to look for. These things all tie up and lead to feelings of isolation, and often this is exacerbated as we're unable to participate or find ourselves excluded, whether intentional or not, from activities because nobody thought about what we were able to do. But what can you do? You can be curious. Listen to an individual, because everyone's individual is different. Everyone's individual experience is different. Remember, because chronic illness is always present no matter what we look like. Learn to recognize the warning signs, because they're there as soon as you know what to look like. Ask what an individual needs, because each person with time becomes an expert in managing their illness. If you're a spoonie, come join us at Veterinary Spoon Holders. And for allies, follow BVCS on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and soon to be on Instagram. But most importantly, remember, spoonies are amazing. Every day they navigate a world not designed with them in mind. They are problem solvers, strategic planners, innovative and full of initiative, passionate and driven, and full of empathy and understanding.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex Taylor and I'm the president of the BVNA. I wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about the recent BVNA Chronic Illness Campaign that we did, and to update you all on what sort of support is out there for veterinary nurses with chronic illness and how to access that support. So why did we do this campaign? Well, this was a campaign that I did spearhead myself, simply because of the experiences I'd had working in practice as a vet nurse with chronic illness. But what we did is we set up a task and finish group. So a report was taken to council. We agreed that this was something that we wanted to do. And then we set up a task and finish group. And you can see here on the slide, these are all the nurses that were involved in that task and finish group. All of us had been affected by chronic illness ourselves, and we were hugely passionate about putting something together to help other veterinary nurses affected by chronic illness. The group had several meetings prior to the launch of the campaign, and we talked about our own sort of personal challenges that we'd faced, and we agreed that it can be really, really tough working in practice, or not, as a vet nurse with chronic illness, and that issues such as chronic pain or fatigue or brain fog can really affect your quality of life, be that at home or in the workplace. We also discussed that the sort of experiences we'd had ourselves, sort of good experiences and not so good experiences, and we felt that it was really important for veterinary nurses affected by chronic illness to feel that they were believed. Especially if you have a chronic an invisible illness, sometimes that can be an issue, and that these nurses were well understood and that they were supported as best as they can be. So any support or reasonable adjustments were put in place to make sure that those nurses could fulfil their job role. So what did we do in the campaign itself? Well, the campaign ran for 2 months. But prior to starting the campaign, we ran a survey to find out information about nurses with chronic illness and how it affected them. And we had an amazing response to this survey with over or almost 1,000 people responding. Some of the results were quite sad and shocking, but there was some really good stuff in there too about nurses feeling that actually they did feel they were being well supported in certain situations. These results helped us to identify which areas nurses needed support with, and it also helped us to choose how any information or support that we shared would be shared. So these were things like articles, webinars, discussion groups, podcasts and personal blogs as well, so nurses sharing their own stories. And we use these to create further awareness and discussion about what it's like to work as a vet nurse with chronic illness. So what support is available now? Well, there is now a free, easy to access toolkit, and that's available to offer support not just for nurses that have been affected by chronic illness or condition themselves, but also for managers or colleagues of those affected by chronic illness or condition. And we felt that that was really, really important because some line managers or employers or colleagues may not know how to make sure a nurse with chronic illness is best supported. The toolkit contains all of the articles and webinars and discussion groups and podcasts and blogs that I mentioned earlier, but it does have some additional information in there too. So there's some useful posters and other documents that people might find helpful, as well as a chronic illness directory. And this is really important because it signposts people to the right place when they're looking for support. So I hope you find the toolkit useful. Please do have a look if you get a chance, and thank you for listening.